Welcome to the C3 Pod. I'm Steve Johnston, the current toy expert on history's Pawn Stars and the owner of Pandemonium Comics in Henderson, Nevada, and coming soon to Portland, Oregon. Up in the top right, Mr. Brett Lawson, student of the game, the Gameday Huddle, and just scholar and gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Oh, and
you
New
can keep going.
We should mention that.
Yes, the ebbs and flows of that. You're going to get a different Brett.
I've never seen anybody have the emotional roller coaster that you've had from week to week because of a team. But we're not here to discuss that. We're just here to introduce you right now.
Rats. Don't tease me. Don't tease me.
Chicago, Illinois. Right now, the man, the myth, the absolute pitchman, Mr. Paul Vato joins us, comedian and pitchman extraordinaire. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Paul.
It's good to be here. Always great to see you guys. I look forward to every time that we record, and then I look forward to the episode coming out the following Monday. So I love it. I love the way everything's been going. You guys are amazing. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. He loves it so much he started dressing like me, except he's wearing that stupid Chicago hat instead of a San Francisco Giants authentic.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, and the reason being is because we'll introduce this guy in the bottom right-hand corner. This is Mr. Brendan Allen from ComicCon.com, senior editor, and still in Bakersfield.
Bakersfield.
Been there in Bakersfield. So, guys,
negotiator. Wait, how did you get that title? I want
that. So, welcome in, guys, and it's another great week in the world of pop culture, fun, and all things nerdy, and that's what we're here to talk about today. A couple things I want to mention really quick. Friday, we had a trunk or treat, and our trunk or treat, we did a thing where if you brought your Labubu got a costume, which we gave him Pokeball trainer ears and Pokeball shoes. So the first 20 people could get a Labubu. It was a lot of fun, and we did a Labubu costume contest at the trunk or treat and made that fun. I just want to give a shout out to our friends at Vault Room Toys. They came out, supported the whole thing, set up, giving everyone, candy and fun and things that, they wouldn't normally see in the store. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention all of my incredible neighbors in the plaza that we're in. Our friends at the Sandwich Spot, Tengoku, Las Vegas Taekwondo, Supercuts, Scent Hound, Hashu. All of these places participated, got people involved, brought people out for a cool community event. And how much fun is it? I love when you get to do something like this to where it's a family-oriented thing. There's not a cost of entry. It is really, truly giving back to your community. I love when you're able to, put these type of things together and make it work. And a lot of fun. A lot of kids come out. And it's fun too. And I should mention that we brought out our friend Chris Sanford and his DeLorean. And his DeLorean is a replica DeLorean to the first movie, and it has the modular parts to be the second DeLorean from Back to the Future. And Chris is known. I mean, his car goes all over the place making appearances. It's one of the best out there in that replica car market. And I mentioned him, and I mentioned this because starting next week, Mr. Chris Sanford is going to be giving us a new segment for the show. And that new segment is 30 seconds from Chris. And it will be so much fun. And when you guys get to meet him, we'll bring him on next week just to give the introduction and everything. But then moving forward, he is going to do 30 seconds on what a hot topic in his moment is. And I'll tell you what, if he gives us...
It better be like completely unhinged or I'm going to be really upset.
What's great is when you get a chance to check it out and see it, you'll understand. It's a lot of fun, and what he's going to do and bring will be a lot of fun. But we're excited to bring Chris in as, part of our contributors. And again, we'll get 30 seconds from Chris each week, which means... Paul, we can no longer give you 30 seconds.
Which means, Paul, you're no longer on the show. Have a nice day.
See you, Paul.
What?
Yo, we were talking about this. Okay, so Back to the Future Day, I made an appearance with Chris. This is how this all came together, right? On the news. So Chris brought his car down to the store. We filmed segments. You know what we'll do in the Patreon? And by the way, if you're not following us on Patreon, please join the Patreon. All kinds of extra content. There will be some of the clips from my appearance for Pandemonium Cards and Comics for Back to the Future Day in the Patreon. We'll get that that set up for you guys and get that over. And what's funny is and I think it's hilarious, is that we were talking about the original Marty McFly. See, a lot of people don't know that, but the original Marty McFly actually was fired.
Yep.
But what's really funny is that the actor that played Biff, he tells a story. I did not know this existed. I had to go find it. It was amazing. He tells a story that they called the entire cast together and they thought the cast was getting completely redone. And he's sitting there, you know, I'm trying to remember, what's the actor that played Biff?
Tom Wilson.
Tom what?
Tom Wilson is Biff.
Tom Wilson. So Tom's saying, I'm thinking we're going to get fired. And I'm thinking, man, I gave a pretty good performance. I don't get it. And then they fired him in front of everybody. And when they fired him in front of everyone, Tom's like, he turns around and he goes, oh, awesome. Because I thought I gave a great performance. So
well, and it's
didn't
funny.
even feel bad about Erik getting fired. He cared about the fact that his performance was good enough for him to stay there.
I mean,
well, and the thing is
count your
he really
blessings.
is giving a fantastic performance, because if you've ever seen Tom Wilson in person, the dude is amazing. And he gets up there and he sings with the crowd. He tells stories. He's got all of those behind the scenes things like you were just talking about, but also his interactions with Christopher Lloyd are just priceless and golden and amazing, because Christopher Lloyd is up in years. He doesn't hear the crowd so well when they're asking questions. And Tom Wilson will stand up there or be up there with the microphone, and Christopher Lloyd will look at him. He'll repeat the question and kind of guide Christopher Lloyd with some prompts about like, oh yeah, you remember with this. And then Christopher Lloyd will start telling a story. But to see him taking care of this like kind of grandfatherly figure up on the stage and just being so tender about it is really amazing. And then you look at the dichotomy between the character he played and who he is in real life, and it's night and day.
Well, and it's funny too, because he apparently he didn't really want to like keep doing Biff because of the fact that he was typecast because he's a comedian. So, and first and foremost, and Paul, you know this, like when you're a comedian, you're always going to lean into that comedic edge in whatever you do. So to kind of be the jerk in this movie, but still be funny, that's really hard to pull off, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but a good character is a good character. And, you know, Biff is such a great and iconic character. I mean, it makes it easier. And, you know, I think everybody likes a bad guy, maybe like Dr. Evil or any memorable character. And Biff is right up there with him. And of course, for people that don't know, you know, you're talking about Eric Stoltz being the first, you know, Marty McFly. And that kind of taught me a lesson too, which is, you know, kind of be on your best behavior because for the whole shoot, because at any time you can get fired. I used to come in, sometimes I'll come in with an attitude of, you know, first day, you won't even see me. I'm, you know, nose to the grindstone. I might sneak out of the trailer. I might, you know, go grab craft services, you know, by day 3 on a smaller production, when I know that there's no way that I can get fired, forget it. It's like I'm at craft services nonstop. You know, I'm doing all these things that might get somebody else fired, but I'm just like, you can't fire me now. You know, you've invested too much time. But
Paul's a first guy in, last guy out guy for about like 36 hours, and then then he resorts back. Right.
So when you guys write your Hedgehog movie and I'm starring in it, just know that, you know. But you guys already know me, so I'll probably just come in, you know, lazy from the beginning. But anybody else's production, but then looking at something like this, you know, they shot a whole week or 2 weeks with Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they shot 6 weeks.
The footage. And you have all that footage too when you go back and see the diner scenes with him and Crispin, right? Like it's a surreal type of thing. As far as his role, as far as who we're referring to, that's a great point that I believe Brennan just brought up as far as being able to tap into like a likability and as far as being able to portray unlikability. He also did that playing the coach, the gym teacher in Freaks and Geeks. You know, he has all the trademarks of a classic high school gym teacher. That's kind of, a trope at this point, but he's also comes off as incredibly endearing, incredibly genuine. And he actually does want to help the kids, even when he starts, dating one of their mothers. So no, absolutely. You even see that element in that show, which is an iconic show as well. And that's years after Biff. So I like the fact you
would
brought
he
that
have
up
gotten that role without Back to the Future? Because Eric Stoltz, I believe Eric Stoltz still got paid, but the thing is that he didn't get the publicity that Michael J. Fox got for having that role. So he still got a paycheck for that, but it probably wasn't nearly what it would have been for future engagements had he had that iconic role in Back to the Future. And if he hadn't blown that,
he would have got 2 more gigs because of 2 and 3 alone.
Right. Plus, Alex, then you look at Tom Wilson Keaton at that point was as big as it gets. So you see why they probably looked when they kind of backdoored into Michael J. Fox. They thought, "Oh, we actually lucked out here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I cannot imagine anyone else playing, Marty McFly. I mean, it's incomprehensible to even think about that. And there's a lot of movies like that where you're just like, "Oh my God, you mean this person was up for it and then they turned it down or they couldn't do it?"
What was it? Who was the actor that got replaced on that zombie movie, and they just went back on a green screen because it was during pandemic. They went back and reshot every scene of her. What's her name? Tig Notaro had a green screen at her house, and she went and shot all the scenes with nobody else around, just like reacting to the footage that they sent her, and they inserted her over the previous actor in every single scene digitally. Because the other actor had shown their ass on the internet or something like that. I gotta find it. But
wait,
dude, it's the same.
Tig Notaro, the comedian?
Yeah, she played a mechanic or something in this zombie film. I'll find it right now.
That tracks.
That's funny. Eric had said that Zemeckis, which was was he the executive producer or director for Back to the Future?
Director, right?
Yeah,
Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, that he said that the problem that Stoltz was taking the part way too serious, right? And they were going for a more comedic, kind of tone. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that, it's very cool to see that, because I think of Solo. That's the one that whenever I hear of like someone getting replaced and seeing like a night and day difference.
Like Ron Howard.
Yeah. That when Howard got brought in to replace I'm drawing blanks on names today, but in Solo, he gets brought in to, basically pick it up and move it forward. The first 15 minutes of that movie and the rest of that movie feel completely different.
Like 2 different movies. Right.
Right. Lord and Miller were there and then got replaced by Ron Howard.
Gotcha. Right? Phil and Chris. Right.
And it's crazy because it's not often that you see this stuff happen, but sometimes it's magic. And I'm not saying Solo was a great movie, right? It had its things,
moments. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the back half of that movie is pretty damn good. And it's Ron Howard, right? Mm-hmm. You could just tell the difference in how it was shot and how it was presented and everything. And then same things, like they're talking about, look, he was too serious and here comes Michael J. Fox. Now, in fairness, Michael J. Fox is who they wanted.
Right.
But Michael J. Fox couldn't get the Family Ties deal cleared. Mm-hmm. And then they came back and they basically came and said, hey, you know what? We're going to do this, right? And that is, let's bring him back. And I guess supposedly from what the story I was being told is that Family Matters had to come first. He would go film Family Matters. He would go, then they would have a Teamster take him home. He'd take a nap for an hour. Then they get him up, give him food and stuff. And then he would go shoot Back to the Future. And then rinse him.
Family Ties, I believe you're referencing, not Family Matters.
Ties.
That's
a little bit different of a show. Now that I think about that, that's slightly different.
Urkel is Marty McFly.
Middle class.
Yeah.
Middle class super white family, middle class super black family. It's different shows.
Right.
But mix,
Yeah. Yeah.
mix Erdl.
Yeah. Have Urkel as a young conservative in a hippie white family. That works. Right. Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right. Anyways, we talked a lot about this stuff, but Mr. Brendan Allen, what are you going on? What's been going on with you?
Oh man, so we went. Okay, so I come from an agricultural area in Northern California, Sonoma County. They grow grapes, they grow corn, they grow like apples, all kinds of stuff. So I'm used to going to the pumpkin patch, and there's one of two ways this works. You either pay to get into the pumpkin patch and they give you a pumpkin, or it's free to get into the pumpkin patch and you buy a pumpkin, and depending on the size is the price. I tried to find a fun pumpkin patch. Like they've got the ones with dinosaurs and the blacklight ones and all kinds of crap happening now. We found one that we went to. It cost us $170 to get through the door. And then they were charging for pumpkins, and then they were charging for rides, and then they were charging. It's, dude, I am so frustrated at how this like super farming community event has turned into like Disneyland, but shittier, right? So like, I'm doing my best to be like, okay, it's a country fair. They've got all these things going on over, but everything was so expensive. Like I said, it was almost $200 to get through the door with a family of it's 4+1. So we had a friend with us.
It's crazy to think these are experiences, right? But some of these places aren't producing like a full produced experience. And then you're talking about that. I'm driving here on the way today, and downtown Summerlin is advertising that they have this like Friday, Saturday night parades. And they're like these fright parades, right? And Universal's Horror Unleashed, which is the new horror experience here in Las Vegas, they're producing it. So it's their characters, it's their stuff, and it's free, right? It just tells you the difference of when you have things that like this, where, it's a production, but also at the same time, like it's the family farm thing that like does the pumpkin patch, that creates this experience, that does this. Like this is also maybe the 1 or 2 times a year that they have a chance to make exterior money outside of the crowd.
To that point, I made that point that the money that they're making, because I was counting heads, because they're charging like $40 a head for people to get in. I was counting heads on the day that we were there, and it's like, wow, they're getting $400,000 at the gate today on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the sales and things like that, and the licensing or the franchising they're getting for all the food trucks that were there and things like that. But this farm is an operational farm. They grow corn, they grow beans, they grow all kinds of stuff. They don't actually grow their own pumpkins. They're shipped in. So they're making several $1 million this month. And then they have an actual farming operation that goes the rest of the year. So it's not quite the like, I'm going to go and support the local farmer because I know that he's going to have some lean months or whatever. These guys are running a massive operation, and like to walk from one side to the other, I was like, now I see why they have trams, because the beans were the corn maze was like a mile from the front gate. But yeah, I was I kept quiet all day about it, but I was sitting there going, man, it's $20 for a hamburger, it's $30 for a pumpkin, it's $40 to get through the door, and it's just like, I'll grow some next year. This is not worth it.
Right.
Well, someone who's probably good at growing pumpkins, and that's Brett Lawson, because he's got himself in the bomb shelter again.
Yeah, that's what's outside of the shelter. That's why I'm in here all the time, because I can't interfere with what they're doing out there. There's a lot of mysticism.
Besides us having to check in on you this weekend, what's been going on in your world of things?
Nothing, man. I mean, I always talk about with you and with various others how October is the best time of year for my line of work. It's absolutely outstanding if you're hosting a sports talk show, if you're involved in sports media in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, baseball's come to a head now. We have a World Series set that will be going on Friday. You're at the mid-season point in football, so you really know what you're getting. You know who's real. You know who's a fraud, a phony, the contenders, the pretenders. So it's a little bit easier to gauge, a little bit easier to handicap. It's very interesting on your side of it, the sports spectrum, tapping into the hobby space, the collectibles, the trading cards, like we've done before. That obviously picks up because all these new players kind of have a market of their own now. Returning players may have a much different market than we've seen last year. It's just a very, very storyline heavy type of year for sports, where you have it, throughout the entirety of the year. But right now, everything is kind of culminating. And then you also have hockey and basketball beginning as well. So we're approaching the next couple of days, the sports equinox, where you have all 4 of them in the same day. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, in the fight scene, you have good fights coming up. Professional wrestling's kind of hit and miss, and as Brendan will tell you. But even that, with the new deal with ESPN, there's just so much on the sports side that even taps into things that aren't necessarily traditionally sports. So no, I'm a happy camper. But I have to bring this up really quick. Brendan, did you hear the news about the Giants' new manager?
Oh yeah, they're getting that. What's his name?
Tony Vitello, first ever manager with no pro experience, coming straight out of Tennessee volunteer program. I figured you had heard because it broke right before we came on for the recording. But yeah,
well, it was rumored by some very, very close sources to the Giants
insiders.
For a couple of days.
Yeah.
But it's official now, and I think it's a solid choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where I know that Buster Posey is baseball minded. I know that there's something that he sees in this guy, whether it's bolstering up the battery or homegrown talent or whatever it is that he's doing. There's something that he saw in that program that made him want to bring that to San Francisco. So I'm going to give it a couple of years, see how it pans out, because that's what you do. You watch and you trust and you hope. And I think that the Giants had a good solid run. The Dodgers are having a great run right now, but they're doing a lot of stuff the Giants were doing in 2010, 12,
exactly.
and 14. So baseball is a cycle. It'll come back around.
100%. Everyone, and I know we have to go to break, but everyone's trying to make us a listen. There's 3 people. There's 4 people on this panel right now who I'm sure, if they're in terms of going head versus heart, in their heart want the Dodgers to lose. But let's be real. This isn't a Dodgers problem that baseball is facing. The Dodgers are just doing what any competent ball club should be doing. The Yankees did it in their heyday. Other organizations have had their moment. Whether you ride analytics, whether you ride something else, a different scouting aspect, if you have your way, if you have your system, you stick to it and you pay the money, it pays dividends. So I actually respect that aspect. There's going to be a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about that, but I like that you bring that up because, like you said, it's all a cycle.
If you put together,
looking in hindsight, when you look at these decisions that people may not understand, if it works, they're like, oh my God, that guy was brilliant. He was ahead of his time. Nobody knew what was going to happen. If it doesn't work, they're like, that guy was a jackass, whatever.
Dummy.
But we'll see. The proof is in the pudding. We'll see what happens, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, 2 years down the line.
That's a beautiful.
Go ahead. You were about to say something, Steve, and I stomped all over it.
What I'll say is that this Dodgers thing too, that people, they're like, oh, they got all this money and they did this. They've taken shots, and this Ohtani thing is a really good example, right?
Yeah.
They give Ohtani this insane contract, this whole deal, backload the whole thing.
They've already made it back.
Did you know that just in the international endorsement window, they covered 90% of the contract this year, just this year alone?
Yep.
So as a business, that move is going to compound let's not call it 10 times that, right? Let's call it 7 times that, right? And it's insane to think that move, they're able to see the other side in year 1. That's what's nuts to me.
And if you make if I can make one more comment, that really is a shining example of exactly what you just basically alluded to, Steve. The Dodgers, their management, their front office, their owners, everyone, at the helm, the powers that be, they pay about 75% of the revenue that goes back into the team. Other owners are lining their pockets, and you see what happens. That's why we've talked about it, Steve, on the Gameday Huddle with Jimmy. Baseball doesn't need a cap. Baseball needs a floor. It's time for these owners to start spending and putting back into the organization.
No, I agree with you, and that's a complete topic that we could run an entire thing on.
Patreon.
So we didn't need to go to break. Unfortunately, we don't have time for Paul Vato right now, but we'll get back to him later. But
at the end of the show, we get 5 minutes at the end.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll decide if he gets anything. Remember, he's being replaced by 30 seconds from Chris, so who knows? Anyways, this is the C3 Pod. Check us out on all the platforms that you get your podcasts at, and thank you for watching. We'll be right back after this break.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comic-Con.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews, previews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comic-Con.com.
And welcome back to the C3 Pod. We are hanging out today talking about lots of cool stuff. We really went on a tangent about Back to the Future and all that stuff, completely not planned. But we are back, and we are going to be rolling here. And this segment is brought to you by our friends at Voodoo Brewery. Voodoo Brewery located in Las Vegas in the Arts District. We mentioned it every week, guys, but what a great venue to go have some fun. It's very chill. It's got that local-ish feel to it. Indoor, outdoor. You got craft brews. You've got a full bar. and they always have great entertaining concepts that they're doing over there, trivia nights, and they mix it up. They mix their trivia up and make some things fun. But ending the last segment, we didn't have time for Mr. Paul Vato. He has lost his 30 seconds of promo. We did establish that at the beginning of everything. But instead, Paul is now receiving 1 full minute.
I love that if it's not a face, it gets blurred. So he's trying to promote right now, and
Yeah,
he can't because
he's trying to protect the innocent, which is the product that he's pitching. Anyways, Paul, tell us what you got going on in your world, and tell us about all of those different brands that you so love to mention.
Mm-hmm. It's not so much that I love them, it's that the people are clamoring for information. It's that you guys love them. Obviously, you know, you love the Parse rum, which actually comes in a very clear bottle, not a blurry bottle, but the special effect. I've got some Caddyshack vodka from our good friend Bill Murray and his brothers. They own this great brand, and you can kind of see there's a golf ball embedded into this bottle. It's very unique. It's vodka. It's delicious. I mean, I have it for breakfast every day, and, you know, look at me. I'm fine. I am on a health journey. You probably won't notice for a while, but that's why I was eating a little peanut butter. So before I eat something like yogurt, or I've learned how to do that. And
you're using peanut butter as a vodka mixer?
I'm using, yes. Yeah. I've got a delicious
visionary.
It's medicinal. You wouldn't understand. I have a delicious bourbon that's caramel salted. But yeah, a delicious peanut butter bourbon that we're working on as well. But you know what? If you go to paulvato.com, that's where you can get a hold of me, and you can sign up for any of my things, like my school community, which is a great way. You know, if you don't want to pay for the Patreon for the show, come to my school community, and then I'll just put all that stuff out over there for you know, $10 a year. I mean, come on, how cheap is that? I'm just kidding. Definitely join our Patreon community.
Yes.
Paul, your 2 minutes is up. I've never heard somebody pitching something. Hold on. This is hilarious to me. That he goes, it's not so much that I love them. It's the fact people just need to be told about them. Dude, I've never heard somebody who's endorsing something not endorse that something, but instead,
well, I mean, it's definitely an acquired taste, but
well, it has nothing to do with the fact that I love and I'm a member of it, but it has everything to do with the fact that they paid me money to tell you about
it.
The
people must know.
It's the fans that want to know about this. And I don't know about you, guys, Steve, but I'm willing to do everything.
I want a refund for my endorsement deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This wasn't included in the deal.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Details.
I never seen anybody in the middle of a podcast work as hard to get fired as you did in 2 minutes. Like, I've never. He literally told everybody, don't.
Like, you got to eat something very pungent, like peanut butter before drinking it.
All the info for it.
Yeah. Come to my school community, and I'll give you all the background information. I'm recording this with my iPhone, and I'll just post it there, folks. I thought I was already fired, so I'm on borrowed time. I know that.
Like, they haven't sent a check in 6 months, so
well,
crickets.
Paul was invited to the office to come pick up his check. I sent it to the same address that every invitation's ever gone to.
I can't find him. I can't seem to find that
every single time, and that's what he says. And we just sent him another one, and same thing.
I went to the address, and it's Wrigley Field. I mean, it was Clark and Addison, and I went there, and it's a ballpark.
It is possible. Well, again, we want to thank Voodoo Brewery for their support of the program, and of course, everything that they do with and for us and the local Las Vegas community. I want to spend some time and get into some stuff with Big Bad Toy Store. If you're not familiar with Big Bad Toy Store, they're one of the biggest online retailers, and they're also a distributor. So most places that aren't, direct big box places have their relationships with companies like Hasbro and Mattel and and whoever else is in that realm through Big Bad Toy Store. So they have both the retail side as well as the wholesale side. But on the retail side, they're in a really kind of odd place, because when you're the distributor, a lot of times you're dealing with you're dealing with direct product.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they're shipping containers to you directly from the production source, wherever their factory is at. This is a workaround that keeps these large companies, your Walmarts, Amazons, Targets, etc., to having to pay an elevated price because they're paying for shipping over and then it's being distributed out. Not everything's done this way, but for the most part, their containers will be built. It's no secret that China is one of the number one places in the world for plastics.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And 90% of these toys are plastics, or have, plastic, purchases, and then soft goods, right? Those two things.
Mhm.
And literally, China's the place for both of them. Your underwear, probably produced in China. Your action figure, probably produced in China.
Yep.
So this tariff situation we've talked about multiple times and everything, they're having to navigate it in a unique spot, because since they're the distributor and getting things direct, they have the tariff fee, not the manufacturer. So if they get from Hasbro a container of product and it comes from China, they have to pay the import tax on it, not Hasbro. So I think it's really interesting to talk about that, because they're being met with some opposition online. People are a little upset.
Mhm.
Hey, you're trying to pass this on. And look, we talked about it a while back, where Brian Volk Weiss was speaking in regards to the nacelle company and their figure lines, and talking about how they were just going to eat the tariffs and deal with it and whatever it is at the time, right, for that particular moment. But now we're coming back a full circle again. Now we're in another situation where on November 1st, it is expected that the United States government will impose an additional 100% tax on items coming from China. They have removed the e-pack shipment concept, which was, if it was under $800, they could ship it by air. And if it came by air under $800, it didn't have an import tax. That has changed. That has changed a lot in my world. That's changed a lot in a lot of people's worlds. Look, what we do is nerdy and fun, but when you compound this into the manufacturing component for a lot of companies that maybe make, like, I don't know, air conditioning units, or life-saving, technologies and apparatuses and whatever it is.
Yeah.
I want to bring this up because I think it's important. They have a cool figure that I definitely want us to talk about. And that's what really kind of brought this in front of us, was the fact that this figure and these figures on the retail side are being offered up. And, Brendan, you can tell us a little bit more about how they're doing this, but we'll mention this really quick. So Fig Zero, it's a 1/6 scale Lord Drakon from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers line. So this is going to be a 12-inch figure, highly articulated. I'm fairly familiar with how the Fig Zero, again, this has a lot of times has some involvement with some of those other companies that we've talked about when you get into the 6 scale line. But I'll have you tell us about this. But more importantly is, Brendan, I really want you to bring to light what Big Bad Toy Store's kind of news stance, seems like it's always changing, is.
Well, it's changed from last week. And
right,
that's an
on the
important
tariff
point.
situation. So fill us in on that, and then tell us about the Lord Drakon figure.
Sure. So I know that we talked about Big Bad Toy Store figure last week, but the thing that brought this that I wanted to talk about is the tariff thing. So we'll get to that. But this is from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Shattered Grid comic book series. So this isn't from the television shows. It's from the comics, which I love. It is 12 inches tall, which is massive. It's got 34 points of articulation. It's 1/6 scale. It's ABS, PVC, POM, and then it's got, like you said, soft goods on it. I love it when they do this because it hides those weird knee joints and the weird pockets at the hips and things like that. It really completes the character for me, and I wish they would do this with more figures. Because this right here, you could do, stop motion animation with this. You can do a diorama with it. You can play with it. You can display it. There's lots of different things you could do, because they also have 4 pairs of interchangeable hands. They've got 2 sets of weapons. They've got those lightning bolt things that the lightning effect, dragon lightning effect pieces. There's a dragon dagger, a saba with sheath. Those boots pull on and off. It's got a utility belt. It's a really cool figure. It's very posable. And also, if you'll notice that flying cape effect that's in this photo, that's because the cape has posable wires in the seams so that you can make it do all kinds of dynamic action for your diorama or for your stop motion or whatever you're doing with it. So it's a really, really cool figure. This one is coming in at, I think it was $130. But the thing that they did differently on this figure versus the last figure we looked at last week was they said, okay, we're going to estimate the tariff for this, but just so you know, it's probably going to change because it's changing every day. It's changing week to week. $163.99, 10% non-refundable deposit. But they're saying that if the tariff changes, if it comes in more than that, if it's $185, if it's $200 with the new tariff, they will refund your money and cancel your pre-order, which is a very, very cool thing. And I think that's the only way they can still get pre-orders with the uncertainty of the tariff picture, because like I said, it could change day to day. It changes almost minute to minute. They don't know what the final cost is going to be. And if you're uncomfortable with it, they're like, cool, somebody else will buy it.
Well, and this is where it's at, where a company like them doing this is interesting because I don't think the standard collector knows that they have to pay the tariff. I believe the standard collector believes that it's always the manufacturer, which is not true. The worst situation is when the manufacturer has to pay the tariff, then the retailer, retail partner has to pay an elevated amount because the tariff is being buried in by their partner. And then what happens is it gets passed down the line. And we talked about that, where we've seen since 2018, and we're talking right now, that's only 7 years. And in 7 years, we've seen an increase at retail of over 30% on most of the collectible action figure world, right? And, items like Hot Wheels are up probably closer to about 60% during that same time period, right? Because it was a lower cost item already. And, it's hard to bury hard costs into something like that. So they move it in increments. Like I think I recently saw Hot Wheels being sold at major retailer for $1.49 a piece, whereas they used to be 87 cents a piece. And even in 2018, they were at $1 to $1.09. So just gives you an idea of how big of a jump that really is. And Paul, you've dealt with a lot of importing, and you've seen this over the years. And look, tariffs do change, and that is something that has occurred over the years. Just it's a lot more public now, and I think there's two sides to it. Public side one is we hear about it, and that kind of changes from maybe what might have been in the past. And then two, it's impacting so many goods. And people are telling everyone that it's impacting those goods. So interesting for that standpoint, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I think it's education or knowledge, because I think the gut reaction from most people is like, yeah, good, stick it to them, stick it to the Chinese, not realizing that the tariffs come right back on top of us.
Right.
It's an add-on. So even I learned this even from the cigar business, because each state has different tobacco taxes for cigars. Some states might have a penny per cigar, which is great. They're very forward for cigar smokers and people that buy cigars. Others, like California, might have a 50% tax, or even I forget which state has 100% tax. So if my cost on a cigar is $12, now I'm paying 12, another 12 tax. So what we used to do is put the cigar out there. This is your price. This is the price of the cigar, $8. And then this is what the state gets. And then this is what what's the federal tax, or, all that. So we would break it down for the consumer so that they don't go like, oh my God, why are your cigars $12 a piece when I can get these online for $8? You're like, well, it is $8, but our state dictates that we charge this much in taxes. So I think the more people hear about it, the better, where they realize like, oh, this money's coming. The tariff isn't hurting China; it's hurting me because I got to pay more.
Yep.
It does affect China, and this is the approach, and what our government is trying to do is simply they're passing it on to us to get us to a point to say, hey, that's not worth it for us to buy. And I'll give you an example where personally, something that I just was going through in the middle of this whole announcement, I was in touch with manufacturers in China to manufacture our own display cases for shows. because I want to own our set for our shows that we do and to be able to have. So I was going to get them manufactured. And when I was getting my quotes on everything, right, my quotes were one number. Let's just call it $40, right? And then the shipping quote was $42 per, right? Give you an example, right? So that was going to cost me $82. But then when they tack on the tariff, that was supposed to be 43%, which would have been on that original $40. So then I would have been looking at another $17 and some change per piece that I ordered as the cost of that item. Then it becomes another 100%. So now it's another $40. So those cases that look like they should cost $82 shipped are closer to $130 shipped. And that's a major difference, because now to the consumer, if I was to sell those items, right, I need to sell those items at a profit. And even if I go just a traditional margin, but when you're moving big items like this, usually don't have traditional like 20, 22% margins. A lot of times this is going to be an item that you're going to move closer to like the 30, 35%, because when they're larger like this, you also run the risk of damage and, you know, whatever it is, right? Loss of product, those type things. So if you do the 30% on that, now I'm charging at retail for this, or even I'm the manufacturer at this point, wholesale, even on a traditional wholesale markup of 15%, I'm still having to charge another $18, right, for this item to then get turned to the consumer. So by the time the store receives this item, or whoever it is that's buying it, and then they're going to sell it, they're holding that item for $150. And now they want to make that 20%, 30% traditional markup. This thing's $200 before you even know it.
Yeah.
And the baseline start was 40.
Right. It reminds me, I mean, you are on the show Pawn Stars, but it reminds me of that Pawn Stars mentality too, where people come in and they're like, I know this is worth $200. And it's like, yeah, it is all day long. But here's what I have to do is I have to pay my staff. I have to keep the lights on. I have to get it appraised. I have to market it. I have to take photos. It takes up display space, which I pay rent on. So by the time everything is said and done, I have to pay you $100 or I make nothing. And that's the whole thing. Is like a lot of people don't realize that the cost of a good, you know, versus the retail price of a good, there's so many steps in between and so many hidden costs and so many things that you'll never know about, but it is worth $200. You are absolutely correct. But this is what I can give you is $100.
This is my biggest beef with the resale market, right? I'm a big proponent. I'll say it now, and people like me or not. I'm a big proponent on regulating the secondary market. And the reason I'm a big proponent of that is because it's not that I don't want a free marketplace, but what is happening now, and say in my world, we'll talk about world of Pokemon cards, right? Because it's just the hottest current thing, is that everyone thinks that they hold the secondary retail market price, and that they now are selling at that price, and that's what it's going to be. Because in that world, some people decided to establish that 80 to 85% of market is what a dealer would pay for said items, to turn around and sell it at 95% of market. Because on average, you don't sell all your stuff at 100%, right? And it's just absolutely insane to think that the margin really isn't there for anybody, and it's all about volume. So then when you look at the scope of the marketplace and you go, okay, now it makes sense why you've got guys fighting out in retail for these items. And it's because if they can get that retail number and circumvent that middle guy to service and provide their stuff to them, it's giving them a little bit more traditional margins. And the at-home seller, the guy that's selling on a marketplace platform, or is on his own auction account or whatever it is, he's sitting there getting the same numbers that the retail space would get. And what's crazy to me is that he doesn't have the same overhead, the same concept and everything. And then they wonder why you drive through cities and you see vacant businesses. And it's like, so there's your problem. So now we go back, because let's talk about way back in the day, all of your sales were peer-to-peer. It was barter and trade, right? Everything was peer-to-peer.
Yep.
Our marketplace is now starting to hedge itself back to that. And you're seeing this, and I'll point out Labubu's, right? Because it's a interesting market, it's an interesting thing. Pop Mart is the manufacturer and the retailer. Because they're like, there's no way that we're going to have the ability and the worthwhile to be able to move these items at enough of a margin for us to be able to do it. So, you know, if you were working on a wholesale side, and most Labubus are $29.99 at retail, you know, if you get them direct from Pop Mart, let's say, right, $30 a piece, they might be paying out the door all in on the production of it, might cost them the $8, like Paul was saying, right? Then they deal with the few things. Okay, now their cost is 12. They would be turning that on to another retailer for, say, $20. And then that retailer would be selling it for the $30. But in this case, they're circumventing that, and they're taking the margin that they would have gave the wholesaler, and they're just taking it directly to the retailer to retail, and the consumer is allowing this. So for everybody who wants to bitch about the tariff situation and wants to complain about the tariff situation, is why don't you realize what seat you actually sit in?
Mm.
Before you realize where you are in the chain and the hierarchy. Because as soon as these, I'm telling you, Lego did it, right? And Walmart got pissed because what did Lego do? They went and opened stores. And when they went and opened stores, what happened? They became direct competitors with their biggest wholesale partners. So Walmart goes, that's fine. We're going to cut your footprint down.
Right.
Target said, no problem. Because everything sells out with Lego anyways. So it doesn't matter if they sell it direct or if they sell it wholesale. In fact, it's better for them long-term to go ahead and get it 100% at the retail point and make all of that profit margin.
It kind of seems like, and even like
what consumer-driven marketplace, that is not our government's fault. This is the consumer driving that component and concept because they support it.
That's kind of what Paul was alluding to, in the fact that sometimes people just want to bitch and moan because they want to either go against the grain, they want to be a contrarian. We see that a lot in the world of pop culture, even outside of anything that's automatically fiscal or government related anyway. This only, compounds that further. But it's kind of like what Paul said. A lot of people view this as a chance to be anti-authority, anti-establishment. And in some cases, the optics of it on the surface level may reflect that. But as you just basically unpacked, Steve, as you dissected, that's not automatically the case when you bring it full circle. It may seem that way from point A, but when you bring it all the way around, you'll realize that may not necessarily be the instance here.
Right.
And when I started, distributing Vato cigars, and this is not an ad for Vato cigars, VatoCigars.com, but I made it a point that, and I don't know, good or bad, that I was not going to undercut my customers, i.e. the cigar shops that I sold my cigars to at wholesale, for them to sell it. Mm-hmm. I would sell it to them so that they could sell it at the price, and I would sell it at the same price. I wouldn't undercut them, even though I could, because you could just go online, and get cigars from me at a lower price. But I was like, no, that's not going to happen, because then I would be upset if somebody sells me something and then directly competes against me. So I don't know if Lego was doing that, where were they going like, no, it's our product, we make it, we pay next to nothing for it, so let's undercut our competition. If they did that, then I could see where Walmart would say, well, then why would we dedicate space for you guys? I just think that if you're going to wholesale and also be in the retail market, then you can't undercut your customer base, which are all the stores that are selling your product.
So Lego has MSRP pricing, right? And they retain and keep that at the retail level. They've understood that the secondary market is what drives that frantic buyer to them, right? So they understood that early on, which is why they did their own retail stores, why they built that concept. But what Walmart was like really missing here was the fact that this is such a high value and turned over item that it's almost like, and it's funny because this was years ago. I talked to a district manager for Target, and she goes, "Yeah, we lose 8% on Lego annually." Now, any other business, you'd be like, "I'm out." But the reason they lose 8% and don't care is because it's a loss leader. Most of the time, when that guy comes in and buys Lego that he's buying to resell, right? Runs in, he buys it, he grabs it on the way out. He grabs a candy bar and soda that he pays $2.50 for the soda that they might be in for 70 cents it costs. And he buys, the candy bar. They're now charging what, $3 for a candy bar, a standard size candy bar that might cost that retailer $1.20, right? So they make their margins on the other side, right? They make it at the milk. They make it in the soft good item that you buy.
No, they're not making it on milk.
Household item. Well, but what I'm saying is that's where they make their margins is in items that are the necessity items, right? Because those are almost, and if you go look at it, it's funny. You can look at 20 different stores.
Coming from an agricultural area, eggs,
right.
Milk, butter, all those things, they're all fixed prices. They don't make any money on those.
But that's what I'm saying is that you're going to look at that and you're going to see this. There's items that are within the space that they go and they bury these margins into that are those necessity items. Doesn't matter if it's toothpaste or if it's whatever it is, right? And so those are the things that they get. So they counterbalance it out. But it's an interesting marketplace. Our government tried to kind of enlist the whole, it was, well, if you make $600, you've got to, show it on your taxes, or whatever. And people freak out about that. And then they just lightened that up a little bit because of the pushback from the consumer marketplace. And it's like, I have a hard time understanding that it's acceptable to be a competitive reseller against other resale type businesses that also are doing other things to provide to a community, right? And then sit there and think that your margins should be the margins that are ran in that traditional, retail space. Because like you mentioned, you got to pay for the power, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for employees. I always say it costs me $1 every time the employee touches something, right? So kind of gives a pretty good insight to it, but this is 100% consumer driven.
Yeah.
It's driven off the consumer's doing it, and they keep buying it when the price goes up. See, that's where you want to make the impact. Don't buy it. That's going to create the impact. I'm not telling people to not buy the things they enjoy or whatever it is, but when you watch your Marvel Legend go from $22 to $29 to $34, and it's only been 7 years, who's causing that? Because you're telling it's okay. I'm going to buy it anyway, right? I'm going to buy the soda bottle for $2.49.
I got you, Paul. You're good,
I'm
buddy.
guilty.
No.
We all are, right? But that's where it comes from. So just my take on that. And I just thought it was really important for us to mention it. We didn't get into a lot of details about the figure. Maybe we'll put something in the Patreon to talk just a little bit more detail about it. But we are going to be going to a break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking about this week's new comic releases, including the Undead. I don't know. Stick around. The C3 pod's coming right back.
Peppermint Patty's the worst. Comicon.com, your daily comic convention online. Insightful reviews of the comics, toys, and games you need to know. Delightful chats with luminaries from around the geek spectrum. In print, on video, and everywhere in between. The show never stops on Comicon.com.
And we want to thank Comicon.com, their support, and of course, Eric and Brendan, both hear from them. So thank you guys so much. But this segment presented by the Nerd Bar in Fremont Streets, Neonopolis, second floor. Very cool, nerdy place. Lots of fun. The bowling alley, you can go in. You know what I did one night there is they have the Touch Tunes player for music when they don't have DJs, right? And so I think I spent like $75 one night, and I just kept playing all kinds of stuff in the place. And so people would put their
playlist
requests on, and then it's like 12 credits to jump to the front of the line. I'm like, 12 credits. And I'll just jump everybody all night.
Take all my money. Yeah.
I'm sure people were pissed that they put money into it. And like an hour later, their song still hadn't played.
There was a dude.
We're getting ready to leave. Right.
There was a dude. We were at New York Comic Con a couple years ago, and Melissa Mazzaros, who's one of my favorite PR agents, and Eric and I were at this bar, and this dude was like the bar DJ, and he was doing that system. And he was playing the shittiest music, but you could tell he was like king of the bar. So we got the app and we started playing just the wildest shit, just like stuff that nobody wants to hear. And he kept looking around trying to figure out who was undercutting him. I still have the app and I know what nights he goes. And so some days I'll just sit here from California and screw with his night from the opposite coast.
That's so petty.
Correspondence. I love it.
But
and that place I'm being told is called Steely Dan's Peg in New York City. Steely Dan, I'm going to call the guy that. So the DJ, the Steely Dan DJ, if you're watching this right now, it's me. I'm the guy who screws with your playlist every Friday night.
Do something.
Completely identified. He just identified himself.
Yeah.
And that was the
Bring
name of
it.
the song, dude. But
wait, no. Now Eric is telling me that's not the name of the bar.
We already know that you are Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, so it's totally fine because you will read anything that's on the prompter.
If the prompter's there, let's go.
You did that. Is incredible. And if you subscribe to the Patreon, you'll understand why that's even funnier when you see how this segment actually started compared to how we started it. But we do want to thank our friends at the Nerd Bar for their support. We're going to get into this week's comic keys, the new comics coming out for the week. And this, again, look, DC has had a full 180 that they have pulled in the last 12 to 15 months. And they are standing now with a lot of their titles are growing. And some of the Marvel titles are starting to take some hits. And this first book, this was what basically paved that way to really indicate how DC was going to get themselves back in the world of comics. And they nailed it with this one. Brendan, tell us about the first one.
All right, so this is Absolute Batman 2025 Annual #1. This one's got the first appearance, I guess, of the Absolute Batmobile. So some of the biggest names in comics take a turn at the Absolute Universe. Daniel Warren Johnson, James Herron tell tales from Absolute Batman's early days. How did Bruce acquire the Batmobile? What was it like for Black Mask's party animals when Batman first hit the scene? And for an A cover, dude, this cover is amazing. This is, if you told me that James Stokoe had done this cover, I would believe you. I don't think this is a Stokoe, but just the grittiness of it, the exaggeration of the muscles, like the flame effects, like this is a fantastic cover. I love every bit of this.
Yeah, the lighting effect they have in it is great. And this Absolute line is killer. Absolute Batman is by far the top title in comics right now. And I say that because I can tell you from our standpoint with pull boxes just in the store, right, that I would say 85% of our pull boxes are pulling the Absolute Batman title. So great cover, great line. Now there's a variant, I think, right? There's
a variant, and this is more of a traditional Batman cover. It does have the Absolute bat symbol on the chest, but you've got the yellow and the gray. This is a very classic Batman. You've got the scowl and everything. There's a lot of room on here with the negative space for signatures. This is a very, very solid cover. This is the cover D, and this is also an open order cover, but I think on this one, if you're getting an open order cover, you're missing out if you don't get that A cover, because that thing is just fantastic. This one is a very passable cover, but it just doesn't have the dynamic just imagery of that first cover we showed.
Now, Brett, have you gotten into the Absolute Batman line?
More recently, yeah. That's why I kind of like the fact that we've talked about it here on the show the last couple of weeks. You know, last week we talked about Marvel Ultimates, and in a way, at one time, that was kind of a big deal for Marvel to kind of step out in the world of comics, and it kind of became old news pretty quickly. So I don't know in terms of the long-term traction that this will actually have. In the immediate sense, though, it's very reminiscent of that. However, you're tapping into Batman, which is as big as any seller in the world of comics, as you've talked to before. Outside of Spider-Man, it doesn't get any bigger than Batman. In fact, it doesn't really even approach Batman. Few titles, few characters can hold a candle to it. So it makes sense. And as Brendan says, everything here with the angry mob aesthetic, the character himself, the hulking physique. I mean, Eric even said in our chats, you got to love Batman, who has a He-Man type physique. And it's cool because that's what attracts people back to the character. This character continues to metamorphosize and re-evolve time and time again. This is just the latest installment of that. And I'm with you, Steve, at a time where DC continues to kind of shine on the up and up in all mediums and all aspects right now across the entertainment board. The comic books, it's fitting that they kind of, stake their claim as well. And this is a good series to do that with.
Yeah, Paul, does this cover appeal to you? Do you like stuff like this?
I do. I love it. I just wanted to correct Brandon when he said scowl. It's actually a cowl, you dummy.
What is it?
No, I'm talking about his facial expression. I'm talking about the facial expression. He's got the downturned corners of the eyes, the slit eyes, the downturned corner of the mouth. That is a very Batman scowl. Some ridiculous bullshit is happening, and Batman is reacting to it.
I will tell you
knew that. Yeah.
I want to tell you something really quick about Brendan Allen. He's not the guy to correct.
Yeah. well, if you do, you better be right? It's like,
or you better be 110%.
100%.
You come for the king,
and then
you
maybe
best
not call him a
miss.
dummy.
Right.
Yeah,
Unless you're like absolutely right, but other than that, it's a risky ball game, right?
No, I see that, a scowl in a cowl. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, scowl on a cowl, elf on a shelf. Give a mouse a cookie. Yes.
Well, let's not beat a dead horse unless you'd like to continue doing that.
Well, speaking of dead horses, let's talk about the next book. Underpool #1. Man, are they not taking their 5 seconds with Deadpool and just doing everything they can to?
The most annoying thing about the Deadpool thing is continuing to see Rob Liefeld take credit for stuff that he has no business taking credit for.
Yep.
That's my biggest thing with Deadpool. I have enjoyed most of the Deadpool stuff that's come out, and when they get to the point where it's so ridiculous that it just doesn't make any damn sense. And Eric makes a good point that I was going to make. Actually, is hasn't Deadpool been undead since 1997?
Right.
I don't know how they're pushing this zombie angle on Deadpool, because obviously, but anyway, this one's got the first appearance of a character called Magni, one called Fantastica, one called Kid Man Thing, and another one called Fearless. So 4 first appearances in this #1. Says the merc with the mutated mouth hungers. X years later, that again. And the virus raging the revelation territories has finally made Wade Wilson into what he always wanted to be, a mutant. But not like this, not like this. Deadpool's healing factor is on overdrive, his mind a passenger in a body that hungers and cannot be sated unless he devours the life force of other mutants. So he's a mutant zombie, as they state in the solicit.
And they made it part of the Age of Revolution,
Yeah.
which they're, that's an X-Men storyline. I found it interesting. We talked about it with Spider-Man, right? The fact that was being presented as a character into the arc rather than this. And now here we are with Undeadpool into the arc. And Radioactive Spider-Man and Undeadpool couldn't be more opposite sides of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And this to me, I hate to say it because I don't throw Marvel under the bus often, but Age of Revelation is an absolute cash grab. That is all this is. There will be, when this is done, I believe people will walk away and be like, this storyline is what? There's a storyline to it.
Plus, I think we got to ask the question at this point. Is Deadpool approaching jump the shark territory? Because Brendan kind of alluded to it loosely there just a moment ago. And it's kind of true, because even Steve, you've said in the past, like, how much of Deadpool is too much Deadpool. And I get it. He's
right.
A big commodity. He sells, but how much until it becomes saturated, until it becomes watered down? And we've seen that happen.
Until people stop paying.
Right. But I get it. And that's a valid answer. But do you think it's going to get to the point where the fan base becomes a little polarized because of it?
They used to do such a great job with using their characters to support other lines and other character lines. You saw Hulk being tied into all kinds of storylines because the support of Hulk coming in for a period of time would draw readers to those books, right?
No doubt.
At the end of the day, that's their gig. I get what you're doing, but now you're going all over the place with this.
Right. There's no clear-cut sense of direction, it seems.
That steers me to believe that the comic aficionado, I don't believe the Age of Revelation is going to sell at the level that it had the potential to when it got announced. This zombie thing could very rightly be part of the storyline and be great for it. But once you start to go to this entirety of how they're doing this, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And again, look, beautiful art, great art. This is cool.
Yeah, here's a variant. This is also another open order variant. When we see open order covers that are worth picking up, I like to show them because not every brilliant cover that's out there is going to be a 1 of 500 or a 1 of 75 or a 1 of 100 that's going to cost you 2 to 3 times. This one costs you cover price, and this one is done by, let's see, who is it done by? This is Andrea Sorrentino. Sorrentino does a fantastic job. You can see he really leans into the zombie thing. He's got the one dead eye. He's got the decaying flesh on the fingers and things like that. I think this is a really cool cover.
I like it. I love this type cover. This is something that I wish they would have done more of on the Walking Dead comic book line. Of these type of covers, giving you close-ups of individual zombies and stuff like that would have been really cool. In fact, I could make an argument that had I had creative during that time, I would have done a variant cover with a different featured zombie for every single issue they produced. Like that would have been really cool because you could have collected the zombie covers and you would have gotten all the zombie characters that they.
Or like a connecting cover of a zombie horde that you could put together and just make this massive thing, but one is prominently features. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So I mean, I like this Undead Pool. Sure, it fits in the storyline. I'm not sold on Age of Revelation now.
Right.
I was at one point. I thought it was going to be really good because I thought what we were going to get was basically like the rising of some of the declining mutants to, kind of protect the universe is kind of what I was kind of led to believe. I believe that's still their storyline, but now when it's just so far-fetched, all they're doing is trying to see if, like what's next. Issue 2, everyone's vampires. Like, find that storyline, and then issue 3, everyone morphs to Godzilla.
Well, but zombies, vampires, and werewolves are always going to sell, so they're going to make variants. Like,
well, right. But that's what I'm saying is that instead of taking that storyline and making one arc towards whatever that is, because they failed in some of those, times.
One of my
Look at Marvel
all-time
zombies.
favorite,
Cool as zombies. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of my all-time favorite DC events was Blackest Night because of all the zombie characters and things like that. It was brilliant. It was so well done.
But that was done, and it was held at that level. It was held in that storyline and arc. Not we're going to have Spider-Man over here becoming some new super mutant version form of himself to then come in and combat this. And now the opposite side is you have superheroes that are becoming villains.
There's a difference between zombies being integral part of the story, like what Brennan just mentioned, and then just saying, all right, we're just going to spam zombies, make them all zombies because that's going to sell. It does sell, but it also doesn't have a whole lot of cohesion to it.
It's like they literally sat around in the boardroom and they're like, hey, all right, let's take 3 characters. Let's put them in a zombie timeline. Let's take 3 characters over here and let's put them into a political timeline. Yeah. Let's take 3 characters over here and put them into a space timeline. Let's take 3. And it's like, I hate to tell you guys, Guardians of the Galaxy has been made. Like,
right.
It's
that's the point where you get when something becomes so popular and it just stacks on top of each other and you kind of end up with results like this.
All right. Well, since we're here, why don't we go to the next title? Because let's see what Marvel's going to do with X-Men now.
Well, so here's what I'm saying is, speaking of cheap pops, because what do? You make everybody a zombie, you make everybody a werewolf, you make everybody undead. And here's what you do is you take an established franchise like X-Men and just throw all new characters into it. Right. So this is the first appearance of Lyrebird, first team appearance of the new X-Men team with Miss Marvel, Bronze, Melee, and Rift. And I wanted to say on those other covers, and I forgot to, this is how you do Sidehead. So this is a very small side head that's got all the information you need on it. It's got your creative team. It's got the tie-in on it. It's got the logo, but it's not taking up 25% of your cover art. That's almost a full cover that you're still seeing. It's very, very small on the side there. This is how you do side head. So this one says, X years later, like the fallen and reassembled United States, the new team of Miss Marvel, Bronze, Melee, and Rift rises. They have seized control of Mississippi River waters that divide mutant kind from the rest of humanity. Feared and powerful, the guerrilla tactics keep them in control until a high-stakes mission to extract a valuable asset threaten to tear them apart.
Did anybody else notice that Paul was about to explode?
Well, it's only because Sidehead is probably some of my favorite head. Okay. Too much?
He can't contain himself.
He means putting the record on the record player that's at his side.
Oh, God. Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's what Paul's talking about here.
Drop the needle.
Here's the thing. Here's Age of Revelation, right? Here's our hero.
Once again. Once again.
And they're made to look like they're from like, I don't know.
This is a GI Joe cover.
What kingdom are they from? That's what I want to know. Like, do you see what I'm saying? It's literally like they're taking any possible segment of something that's had success.
Is that not Snake Eyes on the right there?
It could be, but here, let's talk about, okay, so we just had our zombies, right? So we just had our Walking Dead cover. Okay, now we're going to come over here. Well, we got to have our Game of Thrones cover. Okay, now we got, right. Eric goes, they're all aligned with House Lannister. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
there's the mountain on the left. Yes,
I don't understand it. Which, by the way, Colossus being involved on it and there being new characters, I think is great because Colossus is that one X-Men that isn't getting like this crazy standalone individual line. Right. And so the fact that they're utilizing him in the team,
but if he's part of this team, he's not in the solicit at all. So, like that's a bizarre inclusion. If he's part of this team, that guy
watch him not even exist. He doesn't even exist in the universe. But the cover artist for this one just decides that he's going to drop him in there. Put him in there.
Yeah, just plug and play.
It's like it's an Easter egg.
The X-Men. That's pretty funny, Paul. Paul asked if there's ever been any X-Men, which there are Hispanic origin X-Men. They do exist. So they've definitely made sure they've done that. But it's just funny to me that you look at this cover, like you said, it's very G.I. Joe feel, very Game of Thrones, very, it's just that it feels like there's no real guidance into what this Age of Revelation is going to be. Mm-hmm. And if they had pitched the solicit of the series as a multiverse culminates into one location. Oh, wait, by the way, they just did that with Doom, right? So I don't really understand what you're doing here. I don't. And neither does anybody else with that response. Let's go to
the next one is Venom, Black, White, and Blood, #3. This one has 2 first appearances, Samurai Symbiote and Crimson Carnage. With great power, there must also come symbiote stories unlike any other. From the world of the sleeper hit, what if Peter Picard, yes, from Star Trek. What if Peter Parker became the Punisher? Carl Potts weaves a web with Damian Cuchero to show what happens if Peter prone violent. I can't even read this. But anyway, there's 2 new appearances.
Alliteration, holy shit.
This cover, I don't even know what's going on with this. I understand that with the red, white, and or the black, white, and blood like gimmick, they're trying to do like a trash polka palette or whatever, but like this seems very, very juvenile for a top line character like Venom. I don't get it.
I don't know, Paul, give us your opinion. I think this is a Paul cover to give a good opinion on.
Because it's childish. Yeah, no, I can see what you mean, but since I don't really necessarily know the history of, say, Venom and the Venom covers, I think it's kind of a cool take, but it's not as slick as some of the other Venom covers that I've seen, and it sounds like maybe it's the other ones that are more mainstream than something like this. But you know what? Why not take a chance? Let's see what happens. But it's not as
experiment with the variant covers though. Give me a straight cover that is true to the character, that's true to the art inside, and then do whatever you want with the variants. This right here, it should be like a C cover or a D cover, not the A cover.
This looks like something you could have seen on a Venom cover like 20 years ago or something like that. It looks like more in line with that, just because it's not even a bad cover, but it's like if you look at comparatively to the ones that have come out in recent years, especially some of the ones that I've seen, firsthand, just being at One of Us Comics, like on the ground with Steve for different things. And I'm all like, wow, these have really, really taken on a life of their own, an identity of their own, to the point where Venom has done the exact same as a character. And that's a big reason why. So it looks fine. It just kind of also looks underwhelming compared to the other contemporary covers of Venom.
Paul, you know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
It's like someone had the color form Venom and just put it on some other random color form background.
Oh, and that would explain the odd dimensions and the relationship of like his head size to his torso and stuff, because it shrunk wrong.
I hope someone catches this podcast and goes, "That's what we were going for, right there."
Eric,
like
Eric says it's almost like Venom graffiti might work better if the background wasn't so detailed. And that's a good point too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like the mid-ground figure doesn't match the foreground or the background. That's
Exactly.
a good point.
Well,
Yeah.
Brendan, you had a statement too. You thought this looked like a tattoo or something?
Well, the tattoo on Paul's left buttock kind of looks like this, but I think he was going for a gremlin or a rose. I couldn't tell because it was so quick when he ran by.
But I don't
Maybe
run.
maybe
one
next
thing.
time. Maybe next time.
You know I don't
So
run.
next up,
We're up next. Dracula
Next
Black
up.
and White Special #1.
right, and if there's any character that translates to black and white, it's going to be Dracula. This is Universal Monsters Dracula Black and White Special #1. Amazing creative team on this. It's got James Tynion in the fourth and Marty Simmons on it. It says, when Dr. Seward admits a strange new patient to his asylum, the madman tells stories of a demon who has taken residence next door. But as Dr. Seward attempts to apply logic to the impossible, his surrogate daughter Lucy begins to fall under the spell of the twisted Count Dracula. You cannot stop me from spending money on Universal Monsters. Dracula is one of the most famous, most iconic. They've got a fantastic creative team on this. And this cover right here reminds me a lot of the original 30 Days a Night covers, where it's got this just amazing, almost photoreal, black and white like charcoal, and then they throw splashes of red in there for effect. This is perfectly done. I have 0 notes.
This is going to be one of those covers that people are going to miss, and down the road they're going to say, how did I miss this book? Like, this cover is sick. I am all in on this one.
This looks like, given the the long trajectory of Dracula and just the overall mythology of it all, this looks like something that could be appealing to any era of Dracula. Like, when you think of Dracula, there's a certain key images that pop up in your mind, and this kind of taps into exactly that.
I like it a lot. I love that highlight red on the eyes.
Yeah.
He
Like,
looks a
I
little
really do. However,
werewolfy, though.
Paul doesn't know, because I've never seen anybody fall asleep as fast as they did listening to Brendan read the previous solicit.
But that is very true. But I woke up to see this, and it looks a little bit like, well, why is there a werewolf aspect to this Dracula?
Oh, mute his mic. You're tripping.
What? I mean, there's so much wrong with this. Not just to be contrarian, but since it's Brandon anyways.
Since it's Brandon.
You point out.
Don't you confuse gothic horror icons with me, sir.
You point out 3 legitimate mistakes or faults with this cover. I'll wait.
The fact that he looks like the werewolf is one. What's the top called? The head? The head? Top head? Best head on top?
Masthead, yes.
Are they warning you that it's in black and white? And is it less expensive? This is a serious question. Is it less expensive to produce a black and white as opposed to something that's colored? Or now with computers, it's...
Well, no, interestingly, the printing process for black and white is not that different than the 4-color printing process. This is not done with a black and white printing process. This is black and white done with a color printing process, which is exactly the same as color printing as far as cost goes.
Do you know what I realized in this entire discussion of the Dracula book is that we are missing out on a huge opportunity to introduce the families, because Brett could have introduced.
Brett immediately cut when his father was going by, or whoever that was in the background.
Just
no,
like Paul could. I mean, we should have a bring your family to podcast day. Like,
Mom,
jot it. Come.
I think my wife is on a meeting.
I hope.
Yeah, I was gonna say, right?
Yeah, she can't come on.
There's somebody behind you, Brett.
Let me. All right.
Did he just go away again because his dad came on? All right, cool. So that'll bring us right into X-Vengers #1. And this one's got the first appearance of Variable Man, a member of the X-Vengers, Earth's mightiest, hated and feared. X years later, Earth still needs the Avengers, but what happened to those who are left transformed into mutants? Danny Moonstar leads a new team of Avengers with Hawkeye, Vision, Water Widow, Shang-Chi, Variable Man, and Cannonball to protect the planet. But can these X-Vengers protect all of Earth, including the Revelation territories?
Is this a kid reader?
It does look that way from the cover, doesn't it?
It does, and it's not intended to be a kid reader. I am
Yeah, it's
really
T plus. You can see in the bottom corner there. It's a teen title.
Bottom left.
I'm having a huge problem with their Age of Revelation tie-overs and this. How is this art style of these characters supposed to work with the zombies and, you know, the Lannisters? I don't understand this. I am so lost right now in what Marvel's attempting to do.
And this looks like something that, like, you know, Brian Michael Bendis was doing in like the mid to late 2000s. It looks like something like an older style of art that you saw in X-Men and Avengers comics, but it's in the Age of Revelation line that completely conflicts with what we just saw aesthetically with the last cover. So I'm with you, Steven. I think it looks fine if you're just looking at it at face value, but if you're looking at it combined with the other, you know, elements we've seen so far that are supposed to run concurrently with it, it's just jarring. It doesn't look like it molds with it, you know, fuses with it.
Brendan, you kind of mentioned it. I mean, is that John Cena playing Ant-Man? Is that like
well, that was another cover we did last week had Giant Man, Ant-Man in it, and it looked very much like John Cena. So I wonder if
100%.
the person who wrote the style guide for the new era or this crossover or whatever was just like
something
very much put a Cena chin on this fella.
Paul runs out, Cena's in.
Well,
but if it was Cena, we couldn't see him, you know. So
I couldn't see it. Cena. Question: are comic books also, or I should say, like comic book art? Well, I guess comic books in general, are they also cyclical, where you start seeing things coming back to the way they used to be? You know, baggy jeans to then high rise, you know, to low rise, to, you know, like in the world of fashion.
The introduction of Age of Revelation was a homage cover to a cross cover that they did that had Wolverine being persecuted on the cross, and they put Cyclops on the cover, and it was a retailer gift from Marvel. I'll pull the cover up, and, you know, we can circle it back sometime. It's a very cool cover. The homage is incredible, but the fact that they went from that to this, Eric, I wish you had that cover. If you could, that would be amazing, because if you could put this and that cover up there to see such a stark difference between the two.
Well, even the difference between this and the variant that we're going to get to right now.
Yeah.
The variant cover features, I think this is Danny Moonstar. I could be mistaken. Let me know if I am.
Villalobos, I believe.
Yeah.
No, Villalobos is the character is Danny Moonstar. The artist is Pablo Villalobos. This is a 1 in 50, so your retailer has to order 50 open order covers to be able to order this one. But just look at the realism in this one. Look at the character. Look at the details. Look at, you know, you can see the suede feathering that's coming off of the arms and the loincloth and all that stuff. Versus, I think that's her in the middle on the bottom on the other cover, and it's just so cartoony and just like so simplified. And like, this is so much more of an adult cover. This is also the Virgin variant. So there is an open order version of this cover that's got all the trade dressing on it. But this cover right here, I put it up because it is so starkly contrasted to the A cover, and this is such a better cover.
It's going to definitely be limited. The reason being is because nobody's ordering 50 of that book based on the A cover. Like, no one's taking a chance on that book, even though it's a tie-in, based on that, because there's no way my team looked at it like I can't wait to ask them how heavy did we order this, because I don't believe we did very heavily. There's no way.
What's the artist name?
It's this is Pablos Villalobos.
Ooh, well, I love it already, because that was my grandmother's maiden name, Villalobos, and my legal name may or may not be Pablo. So,
may or may not be. Yeah. See, here's the cover.
Wow,
so
that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
This was the cover that they gave as the retailer gift incentive, right?
Wow.
Like, how cool is this cover? And this is what you were pitched the Age of Revelation to be.
Yeah.
And it's X years from today in the future. And we're getting zombies and the Lannisters, and
whatever the
7-year-old decided to draw
whatever the hell
a cool cover.
is.
And then this is the original Uncanny cover, which they paid the homage to.
Well, and I love that they're using.
Yeah.
They're using a saltire. They're using St. Andrew's cross for that because it ties right into X-Men. They're crucifying X-Men on a saltire. That's brilliant. That's wow.
Yeah, and we saw it even in the movie recently. They alluded to that as well, which is kind of cool. That was a cool little tidbit for any mutant fan in any of the X-Men, history. But no, I'm with you, Steve. It's weird when it lacks continuity for something that you think would emphasize continuity in their artwork.
Yep. When was
at least what the expected timeline is, right, Paul?
Exactly. Yeah.
When was the other cover from the original? I think because it had $1 price on it. Was that from the 90s?
Early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah, just from the colors, I would say that's early 90s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and it's it's a minor key cover. It's one of those covers that if we have it in store, it doesn't stick around long. People buy this book, they love this cover. That retailer gift is obviously that's a big book, right? And that is expected to be that, but like I just don't know if it's ever going to be that gigantic book because of where they're taking the Age of Revelation crossovers to.
Yep.
I don't see it. And Eric did mention that that original cover was July 1989. So I couldn't have been more accurate in my statement of late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
literally the latest of 80s and the earliest of 90s.
Pat on the back.
Very specific, 80s or 90s. Yeah, you got it.
Get it right. I feel bad because this week I've sat here and just beat up Marvel on everything they were doing.
They could take it though. Like they could take it. It's Marvel. It's like I don't think they're going to be down from the in the dumps for too long. Even if in their minds they might not even be down in the dumps. I don't even know if they are prioritizing comics in the same way they once did because they're so profitable in other mediums. So I mean I get what you're saying, but at the same point, like, hey, we punch up on this podcast and we could.
Back to the
Back
to the LCS thing is like they're making money hand over fist no matter what happens because if the book sells, they made money. If the book doesn't sell, they still made money.
Right.
And they still have the collectibles, they still have whatever. And then there's people that aren't as savvy for what to look for in comics or whatever, and they'll go out and buy anything that's got a number 1 on it, or they'll buy anything that's got, and things that are marketed as collectibles. You can ask anybody, look at Beanie Babies. They very rarely end up being actually collectible because they're marketed as a collectible. They're mass produced and they're readily available everywhere. So if you don't know what you're looking for and you go out there, Marvel's going to make money whether you burn it, whether you keep it, whether it gets slabbed or whatever. They still got their $6.
Right.
No, and I mean that's the thing. And I look, hats off to Image. Great job on the Dracula book. Hats off to DC
Absolute.
And the Absolute Batman line and how they presented that and what that cover looks like and everything. I'm not sold. I'm just not sold on what they're trying to do. And that's tough from my standpoint because I'm supposed to be a good retail partner with them, right? My job is to sell these books because at the end of the day, all I'm doing is selling their product for them and making a little bit more off of it than what they sold it to me for.
But as a podcaster, it's your job to tell it how it is. And that's how we do it here.
And we have to. Speaking of telling it like it is, Paul, you said you had something else that you wanted to talk about today?
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you. I'm going to take a second here to gather my thoughts because of the importance of it and how important it is that I start, telling people about not only Paul Vato. Are you guys still there? PaulVato.com, but also the Vato coin. Which, where's everybody? Vato
you're outside right, you're outside right now? Yeah.
Vato coin.
I got you.
Yeah. Hey, your mic. Well, your mic. Guys? Hello? Are you still there? Just want to tell you a little bit about Vato coin. I'm also buying a lot of gold now because gold is where it's at because, fiat is out the door. You can't trust it. All right. Well, hey, thanks everyone for listening to the D3 POD, as I like to call it, but I think I'm just speaking to the void again. All right. It's nap time. Thanks for having me. Nice. Gold. like that.